Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here on Hacks and Hobbies. And today I'm super excited to introduce you to a new guest that we've got bringing on. This is going to be Bryan Clayton. Let's bring him on to the show. Hey Bryan, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Junaid, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You know, what's cool is you've created something amazing, a marketplace, and it's not just a simple marketplace, it's an innovative marketplace that's connecting people, homeowners, with local lawn care professionals. What's funny is that just a few minutes ago before I came on, I was talking to my wife and we're like, hey, we want to get the mulching done. It's springtime here. Who should we talk to? And we have a guy that usually comes. He's always here, basically weekly here and on our neighbor's lawn. And I was like, hey, should we have him do the mulching again? And he already gave us a quote. I was like, yeah, we could totally do that. And then she's like, should I get some more quotes? So now she's talking to other people, neighbors and friends and whatnot. Hey, who do you use? Who do you trust? Blah, blah, blah. But you've created this amazing platform. Talk to us about what inspired you to say, hey, this is a platform that you want to create for people to not only, make it easy for the homeowners, but also the lawn care professionals.
Yeah, so to your point, getting this chore done, whether it be lawn mowing or yard maintenance or around the house, is just a lot harder than it should be
Mm-hmm.
because the providers that you want to get in touch with don't have a secretary, they don't have an office, they don't have somebody to pick up when you call. They are on a mower. They are spreading mulch, like you just mentioned. They're busy executing the services. And if you call one of these big companies that does have a receptionist that can give you kind of this white glove service, they may not be the best fit for your small gig, your small job. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's this weird thing that happens that it's hard to actually get connected with the smaller providers of this service because of the inefficiencies that exist. And so we set out 10 years ago, a GreenPal is a 10-year overnight success to solve that, to enable lawn care companies to be able to quickly get connected with homeowners that need to hire them by building a tool set that enables them to quickly quote what it is that homeowners want and to be able to quickly submit pricing and then quickly get booked and hired and then rebooked all through this platform, this network that we've built. So we really kind of have two user bases. There's consumers that use it, and then there's lawn care professionals that use it, and we have to solve problems on both sides of that transaction to make it easier for them to conduct business on our network than otherwise. My first business was actually a landscaping company. I started mowing grass in high school as a way to make extra money, and over a 15-year period of time, built that into a real company and then sold it. And so after I sold that business, I thought, well, somebody's going to build a network that works like Uber, but for lawn mowing. And so I think I want to do that and recruited two co-founders and we started working on it. Now here we are 10 years later. GreenPal has around 300,000 people that use it every week for lawn mowing.
Dude, that's so cool because you saw that hey, there's already this kind of network that this kind of technology that Uber created. I think that's what inspired a lot of people when you say Uber for lawn care or Uber for pets or Uber for, whatever have you. Uber Eats
You
like
name
they
it.
you name it, the platforms there. It's almost like the idea or the technology is now available for anybody to take it and run with it to build their sort of network on top of it.
Yeah, Uber validated a lot of things for us and other founders and inspired us in a way that up until then technology and interfaces and screens was very much a movement of bits. So you would push a button and then bits would move, and so electronically something would happen. You would post on Facebook and you would see your picture, and then people would like it. But Uber taught us that actually screens and interfaces can move atoms, where you push a button and something actually physically happen in the real world. And that didn't exist up until Uber and some other early networks like that. And that gave us validation that this was just the beginning, that this smartphone device was going to be the remote control for people's lives, and that they would use this device to get all kinds of things done. They would
Yeah.
use it to get Chinese food delivered. They would use it to order same day packages on Amazon. Why not would they not use it for this little chore that I know so well?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was inspiration for us, that was a trend, and we were right on that. Now there has been a lot of Uber for X ideas that have kind of crashed and burned over the last 10 years or so, that got a lot of venture capital, but they kind of approached the idea of Uber for car washing or Uber for home cleaning. They didn't approach it from a professional supplier first perspective. They kind of solved for the consumer side, but didn't really focus on the supplier side. Well, I think the reason we survived and existed and now flourished is because we set out to build a platform that lawn care services could use to just simply make their life easier. And then that put them in kind of a modulated way where consumers could order them off the shelf, so to speak. And that's the approach we took that was a little different than other Uber for X ideas.
No, I really like that because not only did you have the inner workings of running a lawn care business, right? You got to know who your audience is and what kind of situation they might be in, either from the lawn care
Am I still with you?
professional. Yeah, I gotta. I said that what's cool to see is that you are inside of. You came from the business inside of running a lawn care company yourself. Like, hey, how am I getting clients right now? Mostly, I have to pick up a phone call while I'm on the lawnmower, while I'm laying out the mulch and whatnot. What if all of this stuff was handled automatically, and you probably faced that experience going in running that business.
Totally. Yeah, I was very much building something that solved the problems I experienced running a landscaping company. I experienced the problem of not being able to sit on the phone all day taking customer inquiries and running around giving them estimates because I was literally mowing yards. And that's how 99% of the providers in this industry operate. And so then, it'd be nights. I would literally be looking at people's properties at 11 o'clock at night, walking around them like some creep, measuring them and then leaving an estimate in the mailbox. And what I set out to build was a way where a professional could literally like be in the truck or be on the lawnmower and quote 20 properties in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Because what GreenPal does is when a consumer signs up, they enter everything they want, they enter their location, and GreenPal tees all that up into one rich piece of information for service providers to be able to quote it remotely and not have to drive out there and look at it and write up some proposal. They can quote it right on the spot through their account. And so being able to quickly generate that turn those quotes around did two things. It enabled lawn care services to grow their business faster, but it also enabled consumers to get competitive quotes much quicker than they would be able to otherwise. And so solving both those problems at the same time kind of made our technology needed in a way. I think a lot of new founders are building a product in search of a problem, whereas I knew the problem because I had spent 15 years in the business, and so at least I had that right
Yeah.
when we started. But there was a lot of other things that were challenging. We didn't know how to code, we didn't know how to build software, we had never built a tech product before, so we had to learn all of those things along the way. So that was part of the challenging part.
I think that's the fun part too because you're like, hey, I know exactly what I'm looking for because I've seen it in here and here and here, and I know exactly what kind of things that I would put in here. But how do you code it? How do you put it together? That's where you probably had to bring in some experts, bring in some developers that had done some kind of design work and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what we attempted to do. We didn't know the first thing about how to build a website or build a mobile app or design one. So naturally we did that. We hired a development shop to build what, we spec'd it out the best we could, and to build what we thought this app should be. And then they went off and 9 months later delivered it. And when we got it, we launched it into the marketplace, and it was a total flop, total dead on arrival. It didn't have the features it needed. It was clunky. It was hard to understand. And we quickly learned that, damn, this is going to be a lot harder than we thought. and and like there was 1,000 things that needed to be fixed with it. And we came to understand that we're not going to be able to change order our way to success. We're not going to be able to go back to this dev shop and say, can you write up a scope of work and give me a proposal on like this change that we need to make on the platform? Oh, and by the way, there's 900 other changes. We just realized that that wasn't even a workable solution. It wasn't viable. And so it was a gut check moment where we thought, well, if we're going to be in the tech business, we're going to have to learn how to build tech. And so my co-founder went to a software boot camp for 9 months. He put
Mm,
$12,000 on his credit card that he
yeah.
didn't have, and went to a software boot camp, and he learned how to become a decent back end programmer. And then I went to YouTube University
Yeah.
and became the world's most terrible front end engineer. And so the two of us learned just enough to be dangerous, where we could take this thing and we had to scrap it, but
Hmm.
we rebuilt it from scratch in our own kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
And then we were baking in feedback that customers were giving us and kind of building it right the second time. And then we were able to make improvements on it relentlessly. And so it wasn't until then that we were really even in the game, and that took about 3 years.
That's really cool because, in even in lawn care business, you need to know which tool it can is gonna help you get that nicely curated lawn, right? You need to learn how to use the
Absolutely.
tools. And
To your point,
hmm
users of our platform, users of our app, didn't give a damn about the technology we built.
uh-uh.
All they wanted was just a nice, perfectly mowed yard from the lawn care company they hired.
That's all they needed.
And so it's kind of like that's why Uber for home cleaning failed. The Uber for home cleaning was built by engineers from Stanford,
Hmm.
and they built a hell of an app, but they forgot that they're in the business of delivering a bathtub with no fungus in it, a
Right.
bathtub with no green stuff,
Yeah. No
a
mold.
clean
Yeah.
kitchen floor. And
Hmm.
they didn't solve for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it was beautiful and it worked great, and technologically it was sound, but it didn't
Yeah.
deliver the experience that the consumer wanted. And so we had to kind of learn all the tech side. We at least
Hmm.
knew what we were building.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny how as founders we can get sidetracked from what we're actually building and what problems we're actually solving.
I love that. You and your co-founder taking the reins and like, hey, let's go understand how this technology actually works, so then we can tell it what we want it to do, so
Right.
that we can go further along. Because yes, you can go and hire a company that's going to charge you an arm and a leg to build your software that you might not use because they didn't understand what it is that the customer needs, what it is that you need. Because again, that's a whole different level of expertise that you have to go through. Now, the cool part, the reason I love talking about this stuff is, well, I come from a software development background with over 20 years of user experience design experience. We've done hundreds and hundreds of interviews just to understand what the customer wants from the software that we're trying to build. And without their input, there's no way that you can build a good software that's going to get you anywhere close to what the customer is actually looking for.
Absolutely. No business plan, no product survives first interaction with the customer. And that's the biggest kind of trap that a lot of new founders fall into, that want to try to outsource this stuff, is they think that they spec it, build it, and then they're kind of done for a while. Maybe they know they got to make improvements, but what you don't realize is that first version you put out there is just enough to get feedback to figure out what it is you're actually building and all
Mm-hmm.
the million things you need to fix. It's kind of like it's kind of like comedians. When you
Yes.
watch a comedian on Netflix, that is the finished product
Mm-hmm.
from hundreds and hundreds of live shows they have done where they
Yeah.
try material and it bombs.
Mm.
They try a joke and it does okay, and then they tweak it a little bit. The next night they're doing 3 shows a day, and they're trying this material in front of a live audience to tweak it, make it better and better. The inflection, the delivery, the punchline. Some stuff gets totally scrapped. Some stuff gets salvaged. And so when you're seeing that on Netflix or HBO, it's the finished product after thousands of iterations.
Yeah.
And so as a new founder, you have to be able to go through that same process of just relentless iteration of improving, tweaking, fixing, getting feedback from the audience. The audience is your customers, is your users. And if you can't, it'd be like trying to be a comedian but paying somebody else to tell the jokes, and it's like it's just not going to work.
Or paying somebody else to write the joke, and now you have to figure out how to deliver it, and they
And
might
never
have
change it,
and never exactly. Yeah,
or
you.
you can change it at once
Yeah,
every 6 months.
yeah. No,
Good
you're
luck.
absolutely right.
You'll
You're
never
absolutely.
figure out what's funny. You'll never figure out what lands.
Yeah.
And that's how silly it was for us to think that we were going to build this network of hundreds of thousands of users and lawn care services, with this one idea in our head. Like
Mm,
we tried to do that. It was a total
yeah.
failure.
Man, I love that you went through that process and not give up, right? You didn't give up. Like, hey, we know there's something here. We know how we can do it, and you even put in the time to bring GreenPal together. So now you've got GreenPal with over 300 active users, thousands of transactions daily. It's really awesome that you've been able to understand what the market needed because you paid attention to the customers. You paid attention to both customers, right? You have the actual lawn care pros. Hey, we want this one better. We want this better. And then the actual users of the software, like, hey, I can't find the right person to do my lawn, or I'm not getting the right results. So then you figure out, okay, what's missing.
Yeah, it's not just first off, listen to your users or you'll have none. And so that was the mantra we lived by then and now. So there's that. But then, we have a network that connects buyers and sellers, but sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times,
Mm,
their desires are not aligned.
yeah.
And so, the way every consumer wants to use Uber is, I'm going to order the Uber, and when I get out of the shower, I might be down in 15 minutes. You just wait for me. I'll be there when I get there. And the driver's like, dude, you need to be out on the stoop when I
Mm-hmm.
roll up, or else I'm leaving. And like that's the two mentalities. And so Uber had to figure out the perfect, just right balance between
Mm-hmm.
those two. And that's kind of how GreenPal has been, where we have to figure out, okay, how do we strike a balance between what consumers want and what the lawn care professionals want, and make it fair and streamlined for both sides. And you just don't ever know what that is until you keep trying different things and experimenting. And it really is a never-ending experiment building a network like this. You're a never-ending problem-solving machine as a company. And I think the sooner you embrace that, the
Yeah.
better. We think as founders that, if I just solve these 5 things and make these 2 hires, life will be good, at least for a little while. And all that means is you just like unlocked another level where you get to
Mm-hmm.
solve 5 or 10 other things. It never
Yes.
ends. So the sooner you can embrace that, the better.
100%, Brian. Thank you so much. And, we can actually point to a lot of different things that have gone through that iterative process, right? The iPhone is turning 18 years old just in a
Crazy.
few months, right? And we've seen how it lacked the ability to record any video, that lacked the ability to have any apps. Like people were making fun of it when it first came out, but it's grown and people cannot leave their homes without it. It's that powerful, and that's that iterative process of the application growing. Same thing with apps that are on the device, iPhone or sorry, Facebook, Instagram. They've grown so much, and every single week there's a new update, because guess what? There's a problem that you've got to solve to make sure that it's uh, reaching the customers the right way. And that's the iterate. That's literally life. I mean, as human beings, as parents, and as company owners, we're constantly growing and we're constantly solving that problem. So, thanks so much for putting it in perspective and how you've been able to create this product for your customers.
Well, I appreciate that, Junaid. And it's, this doesn't only apply to technology companies. It doesn't matter if you got a pressure washing business
Mm-hmm.
or even a home cleaning business or a restaurant. Treating it as a never ending experiment will lead you to a more successful company. If you show me an experimenter, I will show you a winner.
Yeah.
And if you're running a concrete repair business, this is top of mind because I just met with somebody that I needed to fix some stuff with my mom's driveway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, damn, they had a pretty good sales process. And I thought, that was the result of
Mm.
experimenting over hundreds of different in-person pitches and
Yeah.
tuning it just right. And so if you can think of your business, doesn't matter what you're doing, as a never-ending experiment. You know what? I'm going to try this one thing over the next 10 sales calls and see if that moves the needle or not. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's not going to get any better. And a lot of times, we can use this fancy word like iteration. I think it only applies to Instagram or Facebook or
Mm.
technology businesses, but it applies to all businesses.
Yeah.
And the lack of experimentation is why a lot of businesses never scale and never succeed and never break out, is because the founder doesn't want to put in the effort to experiment.
100%. Brian, this has been a lot of fun. I love learning and watching how you've grown your company from 0 users and not a working application to, a very robust and working application and a website with over 300 active users. Here's to you and your company. Keep growing. Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll share 3 hacks that you can share with us. I don't even know how to say this correctly, but you'll have 3 hacks for the audience that they can implement in their lives as entrepreneurs and business owners. So I'm going to do this. What's funny is that because we are live streaming, I don't even know if I can pause this, but at least that little blank will, uh, you know, give me or give my editor a pause to say, hey, this is where the cut is or whatnot.
Awesome.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are here on the podcast Hacks and Hobbies, and we've got Bryan Clayton, the CEO and visionary behind GreenPal, an online marketplace for entrepreneurs. Sorry, online marketplace for homeowners to connect with local lawn care pros. And what a cool conversation we're having, because everything is a growth. Everything requires tweaks along the way. And if you have any kids, like I have 4 kids, right? My daughter walked in just a few minutes ago, and it's a constant struggle. It's a constant tweak along the way as you're teaching your kids. The same thing applies for businesses as well. Bryan, you've got a few hacks for us that we can implement in our lives. Take it away.
Yeah. So one hack is from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's like a lot of times we have these big goals in business, and that's fine, but the goals almost don't matter. You have to look at the daily habits. And so James Clear's book Atomic Habits is about your personal habits, but it also applies to your business life. What are your business habits? And what are the daily routines of the business? And focusing on tweaking those. A lot of times in business we get stuck on things that are urgent but not important, and so you kind of just get on this hamster wheel where you're just like in the business and you never work on it. And so if you can bake into the daily routine, the daily habits, high level activities, at least an hour or two a day to kind of work on the business and maybe you work on one system at a time. Maybe you spend a month working on an employee training system or a month working on a customer satisfaction survey system or a month to work on a marketing SEO strategy system or something. You need to set aside time every day in your daily habits in the business to work on the high leverage stuff. If not,
Mm.
you'll just stay on the hamster wheel and you'll never break out of that.
Well, that's a powerful one, and I love that. I love James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. I mean, when I listened to how he went through the process of writing that book, he just
Yeah,
focused
great,
on
great
one thing,
backstory.
right? He's like, oh my God, I'm just going to write a book this entire year. That's all I'm focusing on. Everything else can take the back seat. And no wonder why that book is the top non nonfiction book in the world. I love it.
Yeah, incredible book. Great. It's just a handy manual to
Hmm.
remind us on how to be effective.
Yeah. All right, number two.
Second hack, if you will, real quick one. In the early days, do 100% of your customer service, customer support, and I mean all of it, all of the answering the phone, all of the email, all of the live chat. You do all of it because that is free feedback. That's a river of feedback. It's free R&D. It's going to guide you if you're on the right track or not. And then as you scale, the inclination of every founder is we want to like hide behind the laptop, close the door in the office. We want to be buffered from these upset customers. We want to be insulated from that because it's painful. It sucks. Nobody wants to hear somebody complain. So the hack is you have to do at least 1 hour a day of customer support, answering the front line office phone, answering the live chat, doing the email support tickets. Even if you have somebody that does that for you, you need to do at least 1 hour a day so you can close this weird gap that's forming. You don't know it, but there's a gap forming between your customer's logic and your logic. And they're looking at what your business does from one perspective, one paradigm, and you're looking at it from another perspective. And the two of you aren't even speaking the same language anymore. And then you wake up one day and you're like, why don't we have any customers? And so one way to close that gap is to artificially put in you as the customer support agent.
That is so powerful. I love it because, and it's something that uh, I've seen happen in spaces that I follow. For example, Pat Flynn, somebody that I follow, he's a podcaster and he's a business owner, and what he's been doing for the past, gosh, 8 years as an educator and somebody who sells courses, he's been holding office hours on a weekly basis. We're
Totally.
spending 2 hours listening to his students questions that they might have and then answering those questions. And I think that makes you a really strong um, customer advocate as well, because now you're answering those questions, and you understand the problem even better.
Yeah, at a small level, customers appreciate it. Especially they're speaking to the founder. This is great. It buys goodwill, and that's great. But the real value is it's R&D. Like it's free R&D. You're never going to be at a loss for what kind of bets you should be making and where you're taking your little business, hopefully to become a big business, because you've had 100 conversations with actual live customers this week. And then you can go to your
Yeah.
team and like you guys are debating decisions and talking about things and like you're saying, actually, no, I spoke with somebody this morning and she had this problem. And so I think this is a little higher priority than you think. And here's why, because I spoke to another person last week. And so you can speak with authority and actual like first person knowledge as to what's going on in the business.
I love it. I love it. And I think another company that's doing very similar is High Level, as they're taking questions directly from the customers. How even a leaderboard of say, hey, here's all the things that people want in our software. How can we deliver it? Who's upvoting it? I think there was another software that I was actively using, and I was like, hey, I want this feature, these features, these feature in this software because this is something that I'm using on a daily basis. In fact,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been pretty amazing. In fact, the software that we're using right now, even though you dialed in through Zoom, I'm using Ecamm Live to bring in your video into the into this Ecamm Live platform through Zoom, so that I can live stream it to different platforms. That's something that they came up with because a lot of the people that they saw were using Zoom as a platform for their clients, and they didn't want to send one extra link to their customers.
Ah,
And
nice.
this is what's solving that problem. I don't have to send you one extra link. My link is automatically generated through the software, and then as they jump into the Zoom call, which everybody does, I can bring in that video in this fine, uh, sweet looking layout. All
Very
right,
cool.
let's listen to. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Let's listen to hack number 3.
Hack number three was one that I stumbled upon when I was at a loss, totally paranoid and suffering from imposter syndrome, which I still do to this day. But this was in year 2 or 3 when we were building GreenPal from scratch.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the app needed to look like. I didn't know what the interfaces needed to look like. I didn't know how to execute a roadmap. And so what I did was is I signed up for every service that was kind of similar to what we were
Mm-hmm.
doing. And so I delivered groceries on Instacart. I delivered cheeseburgers on DoorDash. I walked dogs on Wag and Rover. I
Mm-hmm.
drove for Uber and Lyft. I rented out a spare bedroom on Airbnb. Cleaned houses for a company called uh, Homejoy, which was Uber for home cleaning at the time.
Nice.
So I did all of these kind of gig economy type of things, and then I would just relentlessly screenshot every single screen, and then I would pay attention and screenshot every text message,
Mm-hmm.
push notification, email. What did the interfaces look like? What was the
Yeah.
copy of the email? What was the copy on the push notification? And so I would just like reverse engineer how these big, massive billion-dollar companies were executing food
Mm-hmm.
delivery and dog walking and home cleaning. And so I could apply everything I learned to my little humble corner of the market of lawn mowing. And
Yeah.
that was one of the best uses of my time to close the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be. And I got paid to do it. Hell, I made good money walking dogs. and
Nice.
and so and so and I was able to learn all kinds of things that I never really thought about in terms of how to build the platform that lawn care services used to market and grow their business and connect with consumers and then how to build it on the consumer side. And so that's a hack that anybody can adopt. Doesn't matter if you own a dry cleaner, you can look at how does some other app in the hospitality business work, and how can you use
Mm.
that to take better care of your customers, and like reverse engineer much bigger players than where you're at, and then bake in dozens of learnings for free into what you're doing.
Man, that's so powerful. You basically went to market research from the perspective of somebody who's delivering the services, right?
Totally.
And
And these companies raised hundreds of millions of dollars,
mm-hmm.
and I was able to kind of leverage that. I was able to
Yeah,
leverage because they were inventing new experiences, and I was able to leverage their learnings and bake them into my app for lawn mowing.
man, I love that. That's genius. I mean, anybody listening out there, and you're looking to build an Uber for X, do the research like Bryan did. He's basically laid out an entire platform or entire blueprint on what what he did. Now, if you have some software experience, some design experience, that might go a long way. But the actual experience, the copy, the customer journey, so have you, is something that's gonna come after a ton of research, a ton of time, and it's not gonna be an overnight success. It's gonna take some time for you to dial it
Absolutely.
down. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bryan. All right, man. Quite this is quite a lot of fun. We're gonna ask, where can people sign up to learn more or sign up for GreenPal for their uh, lawn services as well. But before we go there, I've got 6 questions that I love to ask my guests
All
towards
right,
the
let's
end.
do it.
All right. So number one, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
I wish I had gotten into the hobby of learning how to code websites when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid, the internet was first getting going, and I even thought about it. And then MySpace came along, and you had to learn a little dab of HTML to build your MySpace page. And so I learned a little bit about that. I wish I had kept with that and learned how to code much younger. I mean, I did learn how to code at the age of 34,
Mm-hmm.
but I wish I had learned it at 14. And so I think if and now fast forward to today, if you're a kid today, it's probably you need to learn, things around AI. If you can really become fascinated with that at the hobby level, I think that
Mm-hmm.
can change the course of your life dramatically. Versus if you pick something that doesn't scale, And so I
100%.
wish I had learned that much earlier in life.
That's a really cool one. Um, Luckily, I got introduced to computers at an early age, so I was able to learn a little bit of HTML and implement it. But that is definitely a fun hobby. A lot of people are getting into and getting into coding and designing sites, and we're living in an era where you can literally tell this app to create you a website, and it'll within seconds create you a website,
It's crazy,
just to
man.
get started. All
What a
right,
time to be alive.
I know, absolutely, and I think today is May 13th, and or OpenAI just announced that you can now have video chats with ChatGPT, where it can read your facial expressions, where you are, and answer you based on where you are, like
Incredible.
live conversations. I mean, so I was like, wow, that's crazy. All right, next up, what did you want to be when you were a child?
What did I want to be when I was a child? I thought I thought I was going to be a professional soccer player, and I played on a travel team for a long time, and I thought I was going to be a pro soccer player and wanted to be. And then my dad said to me, he said, "Hey, I got to be honest with you, man. We're going to all these tournaments, and like you're a pretty good goalkeeper, but I see a lot of other ones that are a lot better. You're not going to be a pro soccer player. You need to be thinking more practical." And he's actually the guy that made me mow my first yard. Thank God he did that, and thank God he talked me off the ledge of wanting to be a pro soccer player because I never would have made it. Maybe I would have played college ball or something, but
Sure,
yeah. So and he actually made me go mow the neighbor's yard one day, which I got paid $20 for, and that's what set me on the path of starting my first business. So
that's
that's what I
amazing.
wanted to be, but I was the product of good parenting.
I love it. We are, like you said, we are the parent of we're the product of good parenting, and showing the path to our kids what's possible and where the world's gonna lead us. I think it's a great lesson we can teach our kids, or learn from our parents.
Absolutely.
Next up, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
Uh, so keeping it, I'll keep it. I've got a lot of good favorite movies, but my favorite entrepreneurial movie is grinding it. No, oh, the book is called Grinding It Out, but the movie is called The Founder, and it's Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc.
Oh
What
wow,
a great, what a great story about building something from scratch, and what a pain it is. And like he was 54, I think, when he started, when he first stumbled upon the first McDonald's, decided he wanted to buy it,
hmm,
and I mean, this is an inspirational story about how to get something going from scratch.
man, I'll need to go check out that movie because um,
Great movie.
it's 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 really awesome to see something like that put in visual format, because it's not
And
only
entertaining.
it's entertaining. You get to see
Yeah,
what you go through, and you kind of reflect. Hey, I'm going through the same pain day in day out. How did he overcome it? Right. There's masterminds. I'm sure he was part of as well, or people around him that was helping him move to that next level.
Totally, man. There's a great scene where he's walking into one of this like first, second, or third location, late at night, and there's trash all in the parking lot, and he's pissed off, and he's picking up the trash, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a good reminder that in the early days, it's you doing 30 jobs at once,
Yeah.
and it never ends.
Amen. All right. Next up, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Ooh, let me think. If I got to play a character in a movie, it would probably be Bruce Willis's role in Pulp Fiction. What a great movie, and what a great character. That's one of my favorite movies.
Nice.
And I've always loved Bruce Willis, so I would think I could be as badass as him.
No, I like all of his movies as well. Bruce Willis is, um, I mean, Armageddon, which a lot of people didn't like.
Yeah, that was a good movie too.
That was a good one. There's been a lot of good stuff that he's been in. So
Totally.
that's a really good selection. All right, next up, who is your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero was a guy, and he might be more common a household name now, but his name was back in the '80s. There's a comic book called The Punisher, and I think they made a series on Netflix about this Marvel character. And I
Yeah.
liked The Punisher because he didn't have any superpowers. He was just a normal guy who trained and got really good at hand-to-hand combat and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to use weapons, and he avenges the murder of his family, and then becomes like a vigilante and tries to
Yeah.
correct wrongs in the world. And I liked him because I felt like it was more approachable in a way because he didn't have any superpowers. so
Yeah.
so
Frank,
that was
right?
that was Frank Castle. Yeah.
Frank Castle. That's right. Frank Castle. Yeah. That's I like the movies that they had created around it. The series, I had a tough time catching on to the series or watching the series.
Yeah, me too. Just wasn't as good as the comic books I remember reading as a kid in the
Yeah.
'80s.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Next up, who is no? I'll read the superhero. If you were a board game, what would it be?
If I was a board game, I would love to say chess, but it's probably more Monopoly. It's probably more a game of chance and community chess and collecting go, passing go, and buying four houses and getting a hotel. It's a
Yeah.
grind. It's a grind, and it's approachable. There's
Yeah.
there's no like magic to it. A lot of luck, a lot of
Mm,
consistency. That's probably the board game that I would most relate to.
I love it. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your insights into, launching your business, making it real, making it to where it is today, and enabling this platform for us to find good lawn care providers for our lawns. Where can my
Well, thank
audience listen or find, learn more about your company?
Well, thanks for having me on, Janae. This is a lot of fun. So you can go to greenpal.com, sign up, get free quotes. And then anybody want to hit me up, find me on LinkedIn. Just Google Bryan Clayton LinkedIn and hit me up there.
Awesome. We'll be sure to include all the links to get to you on this podcast when it goes out, as well as the live stream that we've been experimenting. So this is a new format I'm experimenting with, and Brian's been very kind and letting me experiment this thing as I go through this. Well, Brian, thank you so much again for coming on, and until the next episode, we'll catch you soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening and checking out the episode. It's a new platform, new format. I'm going to be doing these 5 p.m. every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll figure out this feature. I used to record these in isolation with my guest on Wednesdays, but I'm changing the format to see hey, what kind of feedback am I getting from my customers? Am I having the right kind of conversation? Kind of like what Brian was doing along the way as he's building this amazing platform. So catch us again tomorrow. Will we talk with who's we talk with? I'm gonna get better at it. Trust me, Meredith Alexander. We're gonna talk to her tomorrow. So again, thanks again for coming, and we'll catch you later.